At a macro level, there's a number of changes impacting the region. China's population is expected to decrease, with India overtaking China as the country with the highest population in the very near future. COVID has impacted everybody, but it's impacted different countries in different ways, and the path to recovery is varied across the region. Both of these factors have a material impact on the economic situation in each country, and therefore both the infrastructure that's needed and the ability of each country to pay for the infrastructure that is required. A previous ADB forecast was that the infrastructure financing gap across Asia was between $400 and $900 billion a year. Bridging this infrastructure financing gap and meeting the needs of communities will require enhanced productivity, real clarity about infrastructure spend, and regional cooperation, including with multilateral financing organisations.
So here in Asia Pacific, we're facing a very interesting challenge when it comes to energy transition. On the one hand, we have some very developed economies, such as Japan, which have already deeply developed their energy sources, and they're starting to think about how they move forward, particularly as they try to move away from nuclear, which has been one of the solutions in the past. On the other hand, we have a lot of countries, particularly in Southeast Asia, which are highly dependent on fossil fuels, are growing very rapidly, and are thinking about how they actually manage to provide enough energy to power their economies, whilst also moving towards their net zero commitments. So when we think about that, we have to think about the different sources of energy available, about solar, about wind, about hydro, and how we get the mix right, but also about how we transition from the existing power plants and infrastructure.
We are observing a lot of infrastructure funds, PE funds, and sovereign wealth funds allocating investment into Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific. With 300 billion of dry powder in infrastructure investment globally, a lot of allocation are coming to Asia. Some of the key sectors that funds are investing in include energy transition, transport, and digital infrastructure. We are hopeful that a lot of these investments will help to catalyze Southeast Asia investment in infrastructure in many years to come. When it comes to digital infrastructure, a lot of investments are going into data centers, towers, and fiber optics network. With the growth of e-commerce, the demand for these infrastructure has increased over time, and more of the infrastructure funds are thinking about these investments as core plus infrastructure. And the traditional investors in this sector, being the telcos, they are looking at monetizing some of these assets to fund their 5G development.
One of the key challenges across Asia Pacific is providing clean power to the population, whether it's in Vietnam or in other markets across Asia Pacific. It's a tremendous opportunity at this point in time because global investors are looking at investing in the energy transition that is taking place around the world. And I fully expect a lot of the global funds and the Asian funds to substantially invest in this energy transition story. And it is probably going to dictate the level of spending across the Asia Pacific region for the next 30 years.